I don't even take one. Already good. In this video, I'm just going to be kind of talking about my experience or my story working for Brandy Melville. It's not really what I expected at all, and that's in the best way possible. And it taught me so much about working. It made me a really hard worker, and it kicked my ass. I guess I'll dive in with how I got the job and how I ended up working for Brandy Melville. This was probably the summer going into my sophomore year of college. I was nannying my cousin. I wanted to go to the mall, so we go to the mall and we're in Brandy Melville and shop around. At this time I was really intimidated by Brandy Melville, and I was really scared of the girls that worked there. I thought that my expectation of Brandy Melville was that the people are mean or don't like the customers, or I just thought they were really pretty and I was really intimidated. I walk up and I'm checking out and I end up getting asked for my store style. And so in the company of Brandy Melville, how that works is that if we see someone, if you're working management or key holder or the store manager, see someone who they think has really good style, that they think that Brandy Melville could take like influence from, that we send to our product, and like the people who make our product, we'll take a photo of them and we'll ask for like their Instagrams, and sometimes if they're really nice we'll ask for them to apply. Well, at this point I was really shocked, and it's really nerve-wracking to ask people for their photos, and I was probably maybe the rudest or most confused person ever. I was like, what? Okay. And I got asked if I wanted to apply. They said that they were actually looking for management positions, and at this point I just did an A-line and a B-line for the door. I was so nervous and scared. What my expectation was that this seemed super catty and I don't want to be in this type of drama or atmosphere. So I took an A-line for the door, and it took me a couple of days to start thinking about it. I realized, you know, like, why the heck not? My only worry about this company was that the girls were going to be really mean, but I know I'm a nice person, and I knew that I would be nice to customers, so I was like, why the heck not, I'll apply. So I ended up going back in and I applied to Brandy Melville. They had said that they already seen my photo. Later that day I ended up getting an Instagram DM from the store manager and asking for me to come in, and that they would love for me to basically come in, and I had gotten the job. It wasn't even really an interview process. I just basically already got the job. I show up for my first day of work, and for the first few hours I was hired as a sales associate. Going into the store, I remember my first day, I was wearing overalls, like little dickies, and a Brandy Melville bandeau and Birkenstocks, which you were not supposed to wear to work, but that's what I wore on my first day. And I was really, really nervous. I remember I was super stressed out. There was only a couple people working that morning. I was thrown on register, which is like not a really big deal, but usually we don't put people on to register until later on from them working. After a couple of hours of working, I am called into the back. At this point, I had really thought I was doing a terrible, terrible job. I was flustered, I was sweaty, I was gross, I was just all over the place. And so I was called into the back, and that's where we keep our bags, so I was like, I'm fired. They're calling me to grab my bags and they're letting me go. But I got called into the back, and within a couple hours I was offered the position of key holder, which for Brandy Melville we have basically like 4 different positions. We have sales associates, visuals, key holders, and then the store manager, and then we have district managers. Basically I got hired as a key holder, and the key holders' jobs are opening and closing the stores and basically being the manager on duty for all the sales associates when the store manager isn't there. I immediately started working like 30 hours. All my paychecks were like 30 to 35 hours. I was always at the store. I was learning so much. Within a couple of days, I kind of started realizing that I was learning a lot more than I had expected, or I was seeing other key holders were learning. And I kind of started picking on to the fact that, oh, I know that they need a new store manager and that they're looking for one, and maybe they're trying to like get me to become the new store manager for our location. So I ended up working a couple more weeks, and I'm doing, basically they're teaching me how to do shipment, how to do our UPS, and how to do our emails. I'm helping with the store, doing all the opening and closings with them. And then within probably 4 weeks of working there, I was called into the back, and I got asked if I wanted to be the store manager. I got asked if I, me, wanted to be the store manager at 19 years old for Brandy Melville. In the moment, I was so like taken aback. First off, I'm the most nervous person ever, and I think that's why I'm a really hard worker. My anxiety just makes me like, I just throw my whole self into it. Like the hardest working job, I was never stopping. I was constantly running around. I was a sweaty hot mess, and I wasn't going home until like 12 or 1 a.m. at the earliest from closings. I say yes. I say yes, I'll be the store manager as a full-time student, and 19, I will be the store manager. My manager at the time says, great, sweet, we need you to fly down to Santa Monica as soon as possible. I go down to Santa Monica the following weekend. Brandy Melville makes me a flight, and they say I'm going to be staying in an Airbnb paid for by them, and then I'll be working at the Santa Monica, basically like our flagship store where Brandy Melville does a lot of our test product, where we have our in-store models and where they do all of our photo shoots in the back, and just a lot of our management's there. I fly down to Santa Monica, and I'm a nervous fucking wreck. I'm like, I can't fucking do this. There is no way that I can handle being a manager. This is because I give complete props to anyone who is a Brandy Melville manager, anyone who's a Brandy Melville key holder. These girls are at the store every single day for like 10 hours at a time for store managers, and a lot of them are also students, and a lot of the time some of them have to end up not going into school or having to put other priorities aside to become a manager. And it is a really, really amazing company. There's a lot of room for growth. People have a lot of opportunities as managers to grow up as district managers and fly and help with products, and it's really amazing that they allow these young girls to put in our own creativity, and the fact that basically the entire company is ran by teen girls except for a few like head people that help us out. And so I fly down to Santa Monica, and I get there in the morning. They Uber me to the Santa Monica store. And at this point, I had walked in, and I had already felt unprepared to be store manager. I knew that when I had gone back up to San Jose, that I was going to be left in charge, and that my managers were going to leave, and that I was going to be the new manager. I'd only worked for probably 4 weeks, and so I knew basically nothing about the company. My thoughts going into Santa Monica was this was for manager training. When I was down there, it was manager training. I was learning how to do floor shift leads and how to manage it, but it wasn't anything different from what I was learning and had already been doing in San Jose. So my thoughts going down to Santa Monica were, I'm gonna learn more of like how to fire people, how to handle people stealing, and how to get cops involved, like proper like legal stuff, and how I need to handle things properly. But getting down there, it was more of like, I think they wanted to watch and see how I handled situations and how I handled pressure, which wasn't really good. Under pressure, I just get really, really nervous. It's not that I can't handle it. I just like, my eyes are wide and I look like I'm tweaking out, and I'm just like running all around and I'm sweating, and I get the job done, but it's a hot mess. Within a couple days of being in Santa Monica, it was actually really cool. I stayed in an Airbnb with another manager from a different state who was coming down. She was the same age. I stayed in an Airbnb with her, and we were spending like 8 to 10 hour shifts at the Santa Monica store, and then going back home and basically just going to sleep. There wasn't any time for fun during this trip. I spent like 4 days down there doing 8-hour shifts, and I had midterms during this time. I was so tired. Within 2 days of being there, I knew as a parent that I had made the wrong decision. Possibly like my company had overestimated my like capability or what I was capable of doing with how young I was with the company. I was really, really scared. I had to talk to basically like the big boss of the California stores. That's the person who, you know, was going to hire me as a store manager, and that was going to be my boss. And so I ended up having to talk to this person, and I was really, really, really scared, and I ended up just saying,
I'm a full-time student. I don't think that this is the best decision for the store. I think that I'll do it, but I won't be happy, and I don't think that I'm going to, I don't know.
I'm just going to ask you so many questions, and I'm just going to be a nervous wreck, and I just don't think I'm prepared for this. Basically, they were really let down in the moment, and they had said, And the time I said maybe in a couple months, they said, what's the difference between now and then? You can ask me anything. I will answer anytime you call. That's not the problem. It's like, I will just make you a store manager. Just call me anytime. And I say, you know, that's not really the case. If someone steals, I need to call the cops. I can't run and call you and talk to you first when there's like an active situation happening. I ended up staying, and they told me, I said I'll pay back for the flight. They said it's fine. It's actually really good for a key holder to get this practice. And so I ended up staying in Santa Monica, and I went back, and I was really, really sad. It was really awkward for me to go back. I felt like I let my managers down, and I felt so sorry and so bad for them. I got back, and so I ended up staying at Brandy Melville as a key holder, and I got back and we ended up finding a new manager, and I stayed for probably like another 8 months as a key holder before I moved to San Francisco. So my experience as a key holder was really eye-opening. I love the girls at Brandy Melville. That was the one thing that kept me there the longest. Was I went into this thinking that the girls were going to be very catty and very mean, and that was going to be the worst part of the job. But that was actually the best part. Was the girls were all so close and really, really nice, and we all cared for each other. We stood up for each other in situations with management when we weren't getting paid enough. In situations where one of us was really sick, we would cover the other one, or just, it was more of like a sisterhood. It felt kind of, I've never been in a sorority, it felt like actual like true sisterhood. And so I stayed there a long time because I didn't want, it's really hard for Brandy Melville to get people to cover hours, and I didn't want to let my team down with having to find someone to cover these shifts. Being a key holder was really great. I worked most of the time, especially when I had first moved to San Francisco, I was working just weekend shifts, like a Saturday night closing, and that was always fun. Closings were great because you got to close, and then afterwards you kind of just got to listen to music and then clean up the store, but that would take a really, really long time, and it was a very, very stressful job. And I give every single girl who works for Brandy Melville the entire props, because it's something that I just can't do. It's something that's not for myself. I think that customers go into Brandy Melville expecting a bad experience. There's a lot of times where I definitely have been a very, very nice sales associate, but the person is very rude to me because I think they assume that Brandy Melville employees are just mean and airheads, but a lot of the times that's not the case. There is those cases where there is a mean sales associate. I'm not gonna pretend there isn't, but a lot of the time I do see the company is making an effort to kind of filter those people out eventually, and a lot of the time that they eventually leave. But working for Brandy Melville was the hardest and the best experience I've ever had. It was not what I expected at all, in the best way. I'm so fortunate, and I think it's crazy for me to look back on. I know it probably is not a big deal to some people, but for me to think of like, oh, I flew down from my company, Brandy Melville, and like went to Santa Monica. Even that little trip was just like, I don't know, kind of like a little cool story that I can look back on. It just kind of teaches you not to kind of jump into things and don't like expect the unexpected, because I was so nervous and I was too scared at first to apply because I thought the girls were going to be mean. But the girls were the ones that kept me there the longest because they were so sweet. I just couldn't do the anxiety and the pressure of working and the long hours, and the company puts a lot of pressure on young girls. But it's seriously, this company kicks ass, and it makes the girls kick ass, and I definitely think it makes us into like strong women workers and business women. And I definitely see a lot of women who are higher up in Brandy Melville who are like amazing business people just because of their experience with just starting out as a sales associate and getting the opportunity to move up. I'm very grateful for getting to work at Brandy Melville. That's just a little taste of my experience. There's a lot of other stories with just crazy customers or crazy experiences, but that's just the rundown of how I got my job and how I ended up leaving, and just kind of wanted to show you guys that Brandy Melville isn't exactly what you expect it to be, and it's actually, you should give those girls a lot of props because I cannot do what they do at all anymore. No, they're really, really sweet. Anywho, that's the story of me working at Brandy Melville, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.